That's right, Final Fantasy. We beat you to 15. Shake, Rattle, and Roll 15 is, of course, the 15th installment in the popular and long-running horror anthology franchise here in the Philippines. And just a little history lesson, I guess. Shake, Rattle, and Roll started off like back in 1984 or something, where it was an actual like real horror anthology kind of thing. It's eventually morphed into like a horror comedy kind of thing. And in recent years, like people really haven't been looking at it in the brightest of lights. It's considered kind of bad by some people, but eventually Shake Rattle and Roll has also become like this platform for new upcoming directors to really kind of show their stuff. And to be completely honest, I watched Shake Rattle and Roll 15 because I wanted to watch at least one Metro Manila Film Festival movie that I thought would be bad. And I was mistaken. I actually really enjoyed myself with Shake Rattle and Roll 15. I think the first and the third segments are are okay. They're okay in what they set out to do, but the middle segment is just great. So let's talk about the first segment. First of all, we have Ahas, or Snake in English, directed by Don Don Santos, starring Erich Gonzalez, JC De Vera, Ariel Rivera, and John Lapus. And this is a story about this mall, this high-end mall that's doing pretty well despite a bunch of rumors that this half snake woman thing is kind of roaming around the mall. And the snake woman bears this strange resemblance to the daughter of the owner of the mall. But we learn that this snake woman actually really just kind of wants to be part of society, but the snake side of her won't let her do that. She just ends up terrorizing people and eating shoplifters. Now, as stupid as that sounds, I actually thought it got legitimately very interesting as the story went on. This is the kind of horror segment short film thing that really kind of uses its horror elements to pave the way for an actual kind of emotional relationship, an actual story with real characters. Now, Erich Gonzalez, I don't think is like the best actress ever, but I think she does quite a good job here, I think, because she has the tough role of playing pretty much two different characters. Three if you include like the snake side of her. She plays the owner of the mall who is kind of like, I guess, normal Erich Gonzalez mode. And she also plays the human side of the half snake woman person, and this human side is actually very kind of childlike. She's very giddy, she giggles a lot, and I thought that would be kind of annoying, but it became actually very endearing and sympathetic. And of course she plays the snake side, which is kind of menacing. Well, at least the closest Erich Gonzalez can be to menacing, because she's just kind of like really pretty. But again, I was very surprised because she managed to make me care about this half snake woman and the stuff that happened to her. And I think that Don Don Santos, the director, really kind of directed the latter portions of the segment very, very well. He kind of, gets his footing later on. He manages to stage, certain sequences quite well despite like limited technology and whatnot. Ahas does have its problems though, like the snake CGI isn't very good, although I really have to kind of give them credit for the amount of detail they put into this random snake creature, because it's not just a snake, it's like a humanoid reptile thing. And I will say that the makeup was good. I mean, there are some shots where you have Erich Gonzalez, like her face and her arms are human, but the rest of her body is just a snake, and I feel like her torso was just made up. But again, going back to the bad things, I just feel like this movie also had too much backstory. They tried to explain way too much. They tried to explain where exactly the snake woman came from, what her exact relationship is with the owner of the mall, and I really didn't think it needed that, because I think this would have benefited from a bit more, mystery, because they had a strong enough thing going on there with the relationship and just with the snake woman wanting to be part of society. The segment also starts off really rocky because they try to go for the comedic tone. I just feel like they felt obliged to put it, make it comedic at the beginning, and just really does not work. And the comedy doesn't even return till the ending, so I don't know why they had the comedy at the beginning. And most of the segment is really just all jump scares with this really loud blaring noise, which is really really irritating. But I will still say that Ahas was an okay segment because I really was genuinely very kind of invested in the story, and I thought Erich Gonzalez did do a decent enough job. But next up, let's talk about Ulam. And Ulam in English, like, pretty much means like viand. It's the kind of thing you eat with like rice in this country. But anyway, it was directed by Gerald Tarog, who is a great director, probably my favorite Filipino director, who did Sanadate and Senior Year and lots of other great movies. And this stars Dennis Trillo, Carla Abellana, Chanda Romero, and again, John Lapus. Ulam is the story of this family of three, two parents and one daughter, who go to this house which was owned by the father's parents, who were really kind of hard on him for marrying this girl they didn't approve. And in this house, they meet their old maid also. And as they stay there, like weird things start to happen. Like their young daughter starts to see like shadows, and stuff that starts ending up in their food. And slowly, the parents start becoming a bit crazy. And I'm gonna say it right off the bat. I think Ulam has the best use of makeup and prosthetics I've ever seen in a Filipino movie ever. You have some people kind of hallucinating that they're turning into, again, snakes or wolves, or like just people with like really kind of gross, disgusting zombie pig faces. And like there's a certain character here. It's not a spoiler. I don't think it's a spoiler. Who's a hunchback, and when there's shots where you clearly see like the hump on his back and the his deformed face, and he looks absolutely real. It's amazing what we can do with prosthetics if we just invest our talents into actual makeup. And just like any other Gerald Dark movie, the cinematography is great. They really know how to use shadows very well, I think, in very kind of frightening ways, but not very in your face, like really subtle movements that really kind of unsettle you and raise the hair on the back of your neck. And they really also know how to use depth in this movie. Like the one scene I remember is that Dennis Trillo is walking around in the dark, and he's in this hallway, and at the end of the hallway there's the only source of light is just a doorway, and the light's coming through it, and then like some other thing just walks into that doorway and stands there, and it was so scary, and it was amazing they were able to achieve that. All the actors in this movie are really great at kind of playing dual roles as well, because Dennis Trillo and Carla Abellana, of course, they start off being like these parents who have their marital problems. Once in a while they argue, but then they get crazier and crazier, and they really sell it. Like you're really kind of afraid what they're gonna do to themselves and to each other. Chanda Romero is also great because there's obviously something else up with her, but you're not really sure about it as it goes on. So it's nice that you're not really sure what she's all about. Sound design in this movie is just freaky. Also, I mean, this is the only segment among the three that I can say really kind of frightened me because it's just really unsettling. Just the makeup is just really disturbing. There's some flashes of violence that I feel like were so sudden but so striking. And yeah, the sound design is just really freaky when you hear the hunchback making his gross, like guttural noises, when you just hear like the jump scare screeches and whatever. It's just Ulam is much slower paced than the other two segments here, but I think the editing is very intelligent in this regard because it really kind of is very patient in building up its world and its story, and you really kind of piece things together as it goes on. It doesn't really have to force feed you information every step of the way. And of course, fantastic direction from Gerald Tarog as always. I mean, he really knows how to set up like every single scare scene here, and it's just really simple techniques, but he manages to bring out the fear. I do have a couple of problems with Ulam, like there's some exposition near the end which I thought the movie really could have done without, because again, just like Ahas, like it didn't really need to explain certain things. I feel like keeping it in mystery would have kind of made it more haunting. And Gerald Targ does use some jump scares in this movie, which were kind of freaky in the sense that the makeup they used was really scary, but honestly, the jump scares themselves didn't really add anything. Like they were kind of useless, and I just felt like again, there's like obligatory on Gerald Darg's part to just put in a jump scare there. But otherwise, Ulam is still a great segment. Like if you ask me what my favorite thing was from this whole MMFF this year, I would say it was Ulam. And finally, we have Flight 666, directed by Percival M. Entalan and starring Matteo Guidicelli, Lovie Poe, and again, John Lapus. Flight 666 is some sort of story about where a bunch of passengers, like 10 of them, end up on this big plane because their flights got delayed, and this is Flight 666. And while they're flying, like some terrorist or whatever hijacks the plane, and he's threatening to blow everyone up with a bomb. But at the same time, there's a pregnant woman who gives birth to like a demon baby thing because she got knocked up by a demon, and like all these things are happening. Did that sound stupid to you? Yes, it did. Does Flight 666 come off as really stupid? Yes. Does it know it's stupid? Yes, it does, and that's why I think I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was pretty cool because it was so self-aware, and it became genuinely very funny for me. It was clear it was not trying to be really scary. It was really just trying to be funny. And if you're looking for any depth in there, maybe the segment is saying something about how you react to panic and like situations like this, but don't look for depth in this. I will say though that the CGI they used for the actual plane was actually kind of decent. When they have outside shots, it wasn't like glaringly obvious that it was a fake plane. In fact, a lot of these shots were actually kind of believable. And they use like wires like once in this segment that's actually kind of pretty good. Like it looked very kind of next level. I mean, relative to everything else that's happening in the segment. And I do think they managed to use the plane location actually quite well. Like they were able to kind of move the camera around in different ways. It wasn't just kind of restricted to the aisles. Like they really kind of played around with it. There's really not that much to say about this movie because it's just kind of stupid and knows it's stupid and has a lot of fun doing that. And it is quite funny because it's just so blatant and in your face. But I will say that like the funniest parts of this movie, number one, Kim Atienza. And if you don't know who Kim Atienza is, he's Kuya Kim. He's on a bunch of news channels. Like he talks about animals and trivia and stuff. And he's so funny in this segment because they don't make him act. He literally just kind of plays himself. He just while some characters are talking, Kuya Kim will just kind of jump in and give some trivia about stuff, and I think it's hilarious. And then you finally have John Lapus like really kind of making a big impact here. Like he has a really small part, but I thought super super funny because you've been used to seeing him already in the past two segments. But of course, Flight 666 is not like a good segment per se. I mean, the acting is all over the top. It's very ridiculous. None of it is believable. Nothing actually really makes sense. All these characters do really, really stupid things. Like, why is the girl like pregnant with a demon's baby in the first place? Why is the hijacker hijacking like the emptiest plane ever if he knew it was going to be empty anyway? The CGI they use for the demon baby thing is really, really terrible. It just looks like, a clip art picture just kind of running around the place. I'm actually kind of disappointed that this movie was not insane from the very beginning. They tried to set up like character relationships at the start that don't really go anywhere. And like I wish it was kind of like ridiculous and funny the entire time. But I will still say that Flight 666 was really enjoyable. I thought it was still okay for what it was trying to do. And yeah, like I think it was a really good kind of ending to this anthology because the way Ahas and Ulam end are just kind of dark, and it was nice to kind of end with like a light note. So overall, I would actually say that Shake, Rattle, Roll 15 was a pretty good movie, surprisingly. It's totally worth watching, in my opinion, especially for Ulam, which I think everybody needs to see. But what do you guys think of Shake, Rattle, Roll 15? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.